It's worth noting that I actually recorded this episode before the third season of Strange New Worlds even aired, if I got my calendar right, which is always a good question. So I'm not going to change anything, and let's just see how well it aged or didn't. Let's hope for something better than bovine secretions, shall we? Anyways, I brought this up on a live stream, and then I reproduced it on the Twitters, and here I am reproducing it yet again for the channel, because I know not all of y'all are on the Twitters, because I have 40,000 plus subscribers here, and I only have not even 3,000 subscribers in the Twitters at this point. So yeah, there's some disconnect there, but I know y'all, not all of y'all like the Twitters, and that's perfectly fine. I use it for entertainment. I don't know what y'all use it for, if at all, so take it or leave it. But, sorry, again, getting distracted like I always do. My too long on the didn't read is I understand why Strange New Worlds did such redonkulous episodes. In fact, if you ask me, it all makes perfect sense looking at it backwards. And I'll explain after this short introductory break. Any ship left on the dock for more than 24 hours will be compressed to a cube at the owner's expense. Welcome to Sacred Cow Shipyards. See, the kicker with Strange New Worlds is you have this crossover episode with Lower Decks, animated and all, and then you have, the very contentious musical episode, and then there's various other weirdness going on in various other episodes, like, say, the D&D episode. Let's not forget that one, where the entire crew were convinced that they were part of some medieval, fantastical, weird storyline thing going on. Because, yeah, Worf from Next Generation has never worn tights, because, no, that obviously never happened. Nope. Totes my goats never happened. Anyways, regardless, I am again getting distracted. I apologize. My point, my core thesis, and I guess I shouldn't tell you this at the very beginning of the episode, but if you want to duck out right now, my core point of this entire episode is that Strange New Worlds has to do redonkulous things because you know how the story ends. Okay, so backing up from that very ominous sounding delivery, you and I might possibly agree that, like all of the Star Trek series, always revolve around the chair. That is to say, the bridge crew are always the main characters, but the captain, him or herself, is always the main character. And frankly, this is why I really hate STD, Star Trek Discovery, is because they simply could not decide who the captain was going to be. And yes, I know that Lower Decks kind of maybe possibly could be an exception to this theory, except you and I both know where Boimler is going to end up. So it's still the same in the end, just on a longer timeline horizon. But that's kind of the thing with Strange New World, isn't it? I mean, you come into the series knowing exactly where Captain Pike ends up. But the kicker is, Captain Pike comes into the series knowing exactly where Captain Pike will end up. Can you imagine that? Can you conceptualize the hard and fast knowledge that I think it's technically 7 years from now, you won't technically die, but you will be confined to a very stupid wheelchair from which you can only say yes and no. And sure, armed with that knowledge, you could think that maybe you could change your future, just like Captain Pike thought that maybe he could change his future. And he almost tried to, until someone from the future that he was about to create came back and informed him that, yeah, no, totally, you would survive that. Every single one of those cadets would survive that. Billions more would die, and Commander Spock would be saddled with the future that you shrugged off. No matter what Captain Pike did, and Captain Pike tried so many variations on the theme, Commander Spock always ended up with the same short end of the stick that Captain Pike eventually ends up with. And that's why, fundamentally, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is a tragedy. Yes, they have fun episodes. Yes, they have crazy episodes. Yes, they have everything from Lower Decks to Next Generation to Deep Space Nine to the original series, all wrapped up in one singular series. But one of the important threads in Star Trek is that life finds a way. But in this specific case, you are reminded constantly that Pike's life can't. Pike was informed of his future, and then he tried to change his future and was repeatedly informed that that was a tremendously bad idea. So all said, he is, for lack of a better word, resigned to his fate. Now, how would that affect you? If you knew beyond a shadow of comprehensible doubt that you would die, or not quite die, but close enough, 7 years from now, and within those 7 years, anything you encountered would not kill you. You would be perfectly fine because you have a very heavily booked date with destiny 7 years from now. As a commanding officer of a warship, because yes, after all, Starfleet is a military organization, how would that affect you? As a commanding officer, knowing that you were functionally invulnerable, what would you get your crew into? Or, on the flip side, would you be too concerned about getting your crew into things that you know that you would survive, but you're not convinced they would survive, so you would be overly cautious? I mean, seriously, you could get wrapped up in your little tiny noggin about all the details of like, okay, fine, I'm going to survive all this, but can I guarantee that any of you are going to survive any of this? Or should I optimize for certain members surviving this? Or should I optimize for everyone surviving this? And maybe I should just optimize for me being like mortally wounded, knowing that I will survive either way, but also that my being mortally wounded will result in all of you surviving this. And how do you reconcile all these random details that would just be assaulting your little tiny noggins? And I mean, that's really the problem with Strange New Worlds, is that this looming specter of this pain-racked man strapped into this stupid-ass chair, communicating with nothing more than yes or no for the rest of his miserable existence, looms tall over the entire series from beginning to end. Like I said, you know how the story ends. So, yeah, they had some fun in the middle. Are you surprised? Are you seriously fucking surprised? Because yes, I know that Starfleet makes a whole industry out of proclaiming that, no, of course not, we're not a military organization. Like we talked about, they totally fucking are. And you want to know the first response that most, military types have to existential dread? It's laughing in his goddamn face. And the irony, the real joke of all of this is that comes up in the goddamn series. I don't even remember the context, But Pike tells Spock that sometimes some things go so horribly wrong that all you can do is laugh. And that right there is the sum total of Strange New Worlds. Because yeah, Pike knows what's going to happen to him. We all know what's going to happen to him. It's fucking horrible. And he knows that he could change the outcome, but the alternative is so much worse. And even beyond that, he doesn't actually need to change the outcome. He could go through the whole thing and then sign on with the Magellan, and they would fix every single thing that could possibly be wrong with him, including all the radiation damage he sustained in that simulated reactor. But Captain Pike, being who he is not willing to sacrifice the life of a child just to make his own life more comfortable. And if you don't understand that reference, you need to watch the series. But this is my core point, my core premise, is that Strange New Worlds is fundamentally a tragedy. You know where Pike came from. You know where Pike will end up. Now they're just fleshing out the details. And is there so much wrong with having a little fun with those details? You don't have to like them having fun with those details. You don't have to enjoy them having fun with those details. But tell me that having fun with those details doesn't make sense given the context of you know exactly how this story ends. Pain, suffering, and misery. So why not do a little redonkulousness on the way? And even if you can't appreciate the redonkulousness, I know, I keep saying the same thing over and over again. I just want to specify that I appreciate the level of wonder and awe that the Strange New World series manages to evoke out of their audience. And it's mostly the actors' fault in that they approach every new thing with this marvelous sense of like, holy hell, that is new and cool, and man, I want to learn more about that. That fundamentally is Star Trek. It's the sense of exploration, the sense of wonder, the sense of awe, the sense of, wow, bring me that horizon. And yeah, the original series did that beautifully. Next Generation did that okay. I will acknowledge that Deep Space Nine kind of lost that notion. Not gonna lie. I will also say that things like STD just totally forgot about that entire idea and just fucked off and did strange things. Picard is even worse. Voyager did that technically and then genocided all the new things they found. So mostly loses here, but Strange New Worlds does actually, in my opinion, encapsulate the whole notion of, yes, our 5-year mission is to go forth and find new worlds and new species and new civilizations and to boldly explore where no man had gone before. And I mean, for some of you, those words will resonate, and for some of you, they won't. But I still argue that Strange New Worlds, for all of its faults, and there are many, did a good job living up to those words. And that's all from Sacred Cow Shipyards. Please be advised that any ship left on the docks for more than 24 hours will be compressed to a cube at the owner's expense. Have a nice day.